to resume. And the next item that's on the agenda, the presenter is not yet here. And I told him that if he wasn't here, that we would move and come back to it. So I'd like to get a sense from the folks who are here, what they're here for, so we can go to the agenda item that most people are here for. So could you, by a show of hands, how many people are here for the Silver Pines? Okay, that looks like quite a few. So with that in mind, we'd like to be able to deal with your issue and be able to get you on your way. So I would propose that we advance to, let's see, we're at 9. Agenda item number 9, new business. A, discussion by council vote or other action on water billing issues at Silver Pines. And for this item, I'm going to turn it to Councilor Zielinski to tee up the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had ongoing discussion and questions since the year 2011. Hopefully tonight we can bring some finalization, or at least a solid direction for the folks at Silver Pines. They have a lot of questions about the water billing, meters usage, and I know you asked me to tee it up, but I would defer to the residents of Silver Pines if there's someone who wishes to come forward and discuss. May I acknowledge, Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. DeMayo?
Joe DeMayo, 62 Alpine Way, Silver Pines. We are here tonight representing the board. The board is representing this discussion about our water bill. With that, can I come up to the board and pass out some paperwork?
Yes. I just want to remind you as you're doing that, Joe, that it's paperwork that we won't be able to act on tonight because we're just getting it tonight.
Well, I just wanted to show this as so you can follow
Sure.
along with me.
Sure.
I'll discuss it in a minute. It may look confusing. Just want to give you this. Remember?
Thank you.
Yeah, I want this. Excuse me 1 minute. Yeah, you know what? I'm also. First of all, Council President, can I address Councilman Zielinski?
Can you address him? Certainly.
Okay. Councilman Zielinski, in order for me to go forward, I have to go backwards. And what I'm getting at is, at a town council meeting in May of 11, May 9th. If I can read from your motion. Motion by Mr. Zielinski, seconded by Ms. Charest, and voted unanimously. On an aye vote to ask the administration to do a thorough review of everything that deals with Silver Pines from 2000 to present, including all of the contingencies, and to go line by line and identify what was agreed to and what is remaining. So my question is, in a public forum, has that been done?
To my knowledge, Mr. DeMayo, I don't think line by line has been gone over. We've had numerous, we've been before the board, over 10 times since that.
So am I correct in saying that it's almost 3 years that that motion or someone has not got back to the council with your motion?
I don't believe this is about water billing.
Well, it is.
This meeting that he's talking about, there were several meetings, Mr. DeMayo. And they were done with myself, with the developers, with you, with anyone that wanted to come to the meetings, they were allowed to come. And there were several correspondence, I'll be happy to reproduce them for you.
Okay, so that's a no, but the water is part of that, part of that, okay. So now,
Always has been, Mr. DeMayo.
yes, right. So now, let's get to the matter. Where the board is against how we're being charged in our rate. We're not against the water usage. That's not the question. The question is a meter fee, which I have all the bills from '07, which I will go over with you. But if you can look at this chart, and if you're looking from Main Street up, or Silver Pines to Main Street, that's the way I'm looking at it, Silver Pines to Main Street. On your left is the sewer pump station, and that is taken over, has been taken over by the town. That's not in question. In question is the water. To the right is a vault. I've been down this vault many times. And what you see there is what it looks like. You got a valve water coming in from the street, valve goes through an 8-inch drainer, which has never been cleaned, by the way, since it was put in. Then we have an 8-inch fire meter and a 2-inch potable water meter. Now, how it looks is deceiving. The water comes in from the street, and the path of least resistance, it goes through the 2-inch. That's how we're metered for everyday water use. When that meter cannot handle the supply, irrigation, fire, it spills over to the 8-inch meter. From them meters, it goes to a backflow preventer and then into the community. Now, we are billed for these 2 meters. We have 2 meters that we are billed for, and we pay whatever the charge is. But what's happening, by the way, if I can just say something, we've asked numerous times for a rate schedule from this town. Mostly all communities, towns, cities, have a rate schedule, how they charge their customer for utilities. Now, the people who sell us the water is Woonsocket. They have a rate schedule. They have a fine rate schedule. And a service charge means this is a charge for maintenance and upkeep of the water service. It assures proper flow within the system so that the water is available as needed. The quarterly charge is based on a meter size and is charged to all customers. Meter size. Meter. We only have 2 meters. Now, we've asked for rate schedules. January 10th or 13th, we sent 2 emails to the town with no response on a rate schedule. So, we have stopped paying first and second quarter of this year for the 61 unit charge. Now, if anybody wants to see these bills, I have them all. In '07, we went on Woonsocket Water, and we started getting our bills. So from the third quarter of '07, it reads meter charge, consumption charge, state surcharge, fire supply, that's the 8-inch. Then meter charge, consumption charge, state surcharge, additional unit fee, 61. So I started making some noise probably in about 10. Not making noise, I just felt as though we were being wronged. And the meter charge went from, hold on 1 second, please. A maintenance fee. Now, meter charge is gone, came off the bill, goes to a maintenance fee. I guess the third quarter, 6, 9, and 11. Meter charge is gone, it went to a maintenance fee. So, that's what we're telling the town. We have 2 meters. We can't help how this Silver Pines was built. All we can tell you is, it was built with 2 meters. This is like one big house, because after the meter is Silver Pines. It's one big house. It's not 62 houses. It only has 2 meters. 1 meter for residential, 1 meter for fire. And we pay the service charge, which service charge entitles the user for maintenance of lines, chemicals, anything throughout the system that delivers water to our home. We are doing that. So, that's what it is.
Excuse me. Is that it? What's the question? What is
The question is, we have not paid the 61 unit fees, additional unit fee times 61 that we've been being charged for since '07. It's a meter charge. It's not, we have 2 meters, we're paying our meter charge.
So you're being billed for 61 meters, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Additional.
Additional 61 meters?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't, is Russ Carpenter, is anyone here to explain anything?
No, we found out this was coming on the agenda Thursday night when the agenda came out, and they've got flushing in the area, and they're starting at 8 o'clock and going to 3 o'clock in the morning, so we apologize, but he said if you want to have it revisited on May 5th, you could do that, or we could just agree to have individual meters put in. Very simple. That would solve the problem.
Well, and I'll just tell you from, and I know Mr. Demay, you've been here many times, even in my short tenure. Looking ahead at the schedule, I know that May 5th is going to be very difficult to put anything further on the agenda for May 5th. My own personal preference is that I'd rather not see the council have to become that involved in the day-to-day management. What I'd really like to see happen is for Silver Pines and the administration, this would be my preference, to work out a reasonable solution to this, bring it before the council for ratification. I'd rather not treat it as an issue that the council has to get into every minute detail of the issue. This is my personal preference, but I defer to my colleagues on the council.
If I may, Mr. President, back in March, we sent a letter to Mr. DeMayo after he had sent an email to me and to Mr. Walensky, and we provided him with 2 scenarios, 2 options, and asked him to let us know which one he wanted. One is removing the residential additional unit fee from the account and installing meters. I'm reading it from the email that was sent, the letter. Installing meters to each unit. The meters cost approximately $200 each, and 6 times 62 units would be $12,400. Each unit would be billed $40 times 4 quarters times 62 units, which would be $9,920. And the account, which has the fire supply meter, which he's referring to, would no longer be needed. The consumption amounts would be true reads as opposed to now, which they're, because of the 2 meters, they're averaged out. This is how they purchased the condos in the first. This has not been changed, in other words. This is going back from the original. Some units consume more than others, which is true. Some people may want to wash their vehicles every day. You know what I mean? Somebody's very frugal in how they use it. So sure, this would affect the renters who pay a flat rate. I'm not so sure how they, would affect the renters who pay a flat rate right now versus the owners. The second option we discussed and asked, and we've been waiting for him to let us know, which is a little bit of a surprise to see it on the agenda, leaving the residential unit fee as is, then the cost presently is 1 unit times $40 times 4 quarters is $160. 61 additional units would be $8,235. Savings to Silver Pines would be $1,525. So the additional unit fee is necessary for maintenance of the entire system, which also includes pipes, valves, the water tank testing, chemicals, etc. So those two scenarios were presented back in March, March 6th, I believe. And we'll do whatever is more convenient for them. If they feel they need individual meters, that's perfectly fine.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, or trying to sort through here is what is the most effective and efficient way to have the issue resolved? Because I don't think that having the council be involved in the very fine-grained minutiae of this is necessarily the way to go. One person's opinion, I may be the only person that feels that way. I have met with Mr. DeMeo and Mr. Zwolinski. We spent several hours at your home. It was very gracious, and I was able to better understand what the issues are. But I don't have a good handle on how do we get it resolved. I don't know that this council is the right body to come to that conclusion. I suggested some approaches. Mediation is one. It's worked well for us in some other areas. And I would really prefer to see a proposal brought forward that both Silver Pines and the administration support and bring it to the council for ratification. If it can't be solved, then I guess we are going to have to make it, we're going to have to make a decision as a council. I just don't feel that that's the most effective way to come to the conclusion. Again, my opinion.
I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Mr. President, Council, Administration. When I saw this letter that the administrator sent, I was kind of like, I wasn't too happy with it. When we moved there, we didn't know we didn't have separate meters. No one knew that. The town and I guess the developer decided to put 1 meter in. I don't know why. Maybe convenience for town personnel, who knows?
The cost.
But this is what we have. And I don't think that the Silver Pines residents are going to spend, which he's asking, what the administration is asking us to do. If the town wants to install separate meters, it will be at town's expense for labor and material. That's how we're looking at it. Now, there's one other scenario. In the last time I was here with sewer, the solicitor made a
Well,
decision.
but I just wanted to say that we got to confine the discussion to water.
Right.
So that's
But
something-
it-
I'm not trying to.
But it's related. It's related, if I may.
Okay. I'll extend
The
it.
solicitor made a determination that the clean out ends at the pump station, which is on Main Street. That was his determination. Well, the water ends at the meter, which is on Main Street. 2 meters. After they leave that meter, it's one property. One property. It's not 62. We pay for the meter at the street, and that coincides with the solicitor said. The sewer, you end at the street, well, so does the water. Why are we being charged for 61 additional unit fees? If the town wants, again, if the town wants to put the meters in at town cost, meters and labor, they'll come ahead because they'll collect 61 more meter fees. But we're not gonna do that expense. Now, I'm speaking as the board, we already talked.
I prefer that we discuss this together instead of in public, and I would have preferred that you come to speak to me.
Let's get some
Well-
of it out in public.
That's
Why?
my
If we could get some of it out in public, I need to follow this. Madam Administrator,
Well,
how much does the meter cost?
about $200,
200?
between $200 and $250. This was all discussed with Mary Jean, Terry, and Russ Carpenter, and they've both been doing this for years. I don't know what they want. Because see, this is the first time I've had a discussion since I sent a request for one of the 2 options. So, let's talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may. Mr. DeMayo, you are speaking for all the residents over there in Silver Pines as the board, is that correct?
Yes.
Folks, yeah. Pretty much everybody's in agreement. Okay. Okay, I'll ask the easy question. Do the folks at Silver Pines want a separate meter, or do they want to continue to pay the use fee per residence? I mean, what is more fiscally, what makes better sense from you for the residents, is the question.
Do I have to go before you?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Alan Nelson, 21 Silver Pines Boulevard. Personally, I'd rather have my own meter. For safety purposes, Tom can probably back me up on this. My house is isolated through backflow prevention. And if I want to wash my car every day and take 5 showers, or not shower, or not wash my vehicles, I'll be billed appropriately. But I do see a problem with individual meters, and that is common property, which the water piping for our irrigation would probably also need its own meter somehow, and also backflow prevention. We had a serious problem 2 summers ago, I believe, where the irrigation company accidentally backwashed irrigation liquids into our drinking water system. I wouldn't want to ever see that happen again. So that's my opinion, and I do think individual meters would be a great idea. And I think the relating to the original cost and why these houses weren't individually metered, I see that it would be cheaper for the developer who would have to pay all these fees. He escaped the initial cost of all these meters. 8 years later, now as a homeowner, I'll be carrying the burden of that expense to have that done. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know. It's the powers greater than me to decide. I don't think it is. I think each house, if I had built a house in any neighborhood in this town, I would have had a separate meter installed, backflow prevention, and it would have come out of my pocket. I think the developer should have been charged in each house. And Tom, you were the plumber on the project. And I'm not expecting you to comment one way or another.
Oh, I don't mind.
Okay, but I think, well, then let me ask you, how do you feel about it? Do you think each house should be metered?
In my opinion,
Yeah, as a plumber.
I think,
Safety purposes, potable water.
well, one thing, backflow prevent is that's always by the homeowner. When we come in, the town would put in the meter, and the people are responsible for backflow and
As a cost, you mean?
expansion and everything.
Right, expansion tanks, right.
That's all on the homeowner.
And let me ask you, right now, we have considered an open system, right?
It's an open system.
Yes. There's no, as far as expansion in the home, all expansion is backed up into the street system, am I right?
Right.
Do we need-
Actually, I don't even think there's an expansion on that.
No, there's no
I
expansion
don't think there
coefficient.
is.
Right, therefore, we don't need expansion tanks in our houses, right?
Only if it's only like, if it comes up to 80 pounds, which you guys don't have 80 pounds.
No.
I think it's 52 pounds pressure.
45.
Right. All right, thank you for answering that, because that's a little
Well,
bit.
7 pounds, sorry.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, that's my opinion, and personally speaking, I would like to see that. And speaking for myself too, I would pay for it, but it would be nice if somebody else stepped up and took care of it for me. Maybe the developer, we could talk to him, and maybe he could contribute some money on our behalf, or you know, like I said, if I was building a house 8 years ago, I would have had to pay for it anyway. That cost would have transferred to me through the purchase of my condominium. So, my opinion, fuel for thought, and thank you for your time.
Excuse me, I just want to know, on the mutual water, where does that come from? Where is that tied in? Does anyone know?
Explain.
Where is the water tied in for the sprinklers and everything? Like, how, is it possible to do this?
Yeah, it comes through 1 8-inch line. When it leaves the meters, it goes through a backflow, then it's 8-inch throughout the whole community. So 8-inch in the road is feeding backflows, irrigation, which there are 5 backflows, which are tested, and then it goes, of course, into the homes.
So right now, you're paying for irrigation, is that what you're telling me?
We pay for all the water, yes.
All right. And then if we meter these houses, yes, you know, the Silver Pines will still be paying for their irrigation.
They would have to be separate meters, and that would be common. That would be common to everyone. Irrigation.
Separate meters on all irrigation, or can we get it off, we can't get it off the 2 inch?
Excuse me, Mr. Carpenter told me today that they would need 2 meters for that.
They would just need 2 meters.
Correct. That's what he said.
I don't know how they would separate 5 zones. There's 5 backflows. How would you separate that with 1 meter? I don't know. Unless he gets it in the street, unless it comes off in the street to another line feeding irrigation, which I don't think so. It comes out of the vault, 8 inch, goes from 2, but it eventually feeds 8 inch all the way into the property.
So you're saying like each block of condos have their own irrigation? Is that what you're saying, off the 8 inch line? How many lines are off the 8 inch line? You're saying, is there 2?
There's
Or
5 2-inch feed irrigation off the 8 inch. They're 2 inch off the main that feed irrigation. We have 5 backflows.
So that would mean 5 meters to me.
I talked with Russ, and that's what we talked about,
So we want to put 5 other meters in,
which would be common
which would be common, which you'd still be paying for.
through the association, through our association. It'd be a common charge built into the dues or fees.
Well, would we really need to meter those? Because it's coming off the 8, it's coming off the 2 inch, and we're metering
And you
all.
want to give us free water?
We'd have to subtract the 161 from the rest of the thing and come up with a figure. I guess you could do that.
I think you got some other people that want to speak.
Somebody who hasn't spoken yet, if you don't mind.
I was just gonna add to the explanation as
Okay.
far, but I think Joe made his point that we do have the 8 inch line coming up, and for our irrigation, each zone of irrigation consists of 5 separate zones. Currently, there's a backflow preventer and shut-off valves handling each zone. If we were to, because each 2 inch line comes off at different locations throughout the project, these backflow preventing systems are located all over the entire acreage. Because each zone is its own entity, each zone would also require its own meter for monitoring the water usage. And it's basically that simple, unless it eventually ended up with its own feed with 1 meter. So, thank you again.
If I can ask some clarifying questions.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at what you handed out this evening. You have a 8 inch valve coming off of Main Street.
That's a shut off, yeah.
Yeah, and there's an 8 inch meter for fire suppression. And then it's jogged out where it's a 2 inch meter. That 2 inch meter, does that supply water to all of the homes?
Yeah.
Also, you said that it supplies water to irrigation. Unless there's an over demand, then that 8 inch line kicks in and feeds the rest.
If the 2 inch line is overwhelmed, the 8 inch line, it would feed through the 8 inch meter,
Yep.
like irrigation would trigger that. The flushing that's gonna go on today or tomorrow will trigger that. So we're paying for flushing for the 8 inch side,
Right, okay,
and that's how we are metered.
okay, thanks.
It's been a while since I've been here to Yellow Stream about it.
Could you just say your name before you yell and scream?
John Ford, 38 Alpine Way. We got overtaxed. That's what happened here for several years. We paid for something that did not exist. You taxed us for air. That's what you did. And that cost Silver Pines and cost the individual unit owners over the last several years a lot of money. We got taxed without representation. That's what happened. Those units do not exist. And now you're talking, or the administration's talking, about the individual owners paying to install individual meters when we had no control over how the development was built. We have been wronged, and severely wronged, by the town of North Smithfield. If you ask me, and I am one of the board members, what I want, and this comes as an individual, I'm more than happy to sit down and negotiate a price for being overcharged for several years. I'm more than happy to do that. But I am not happy to now pay additional money and to lose and be overtaxed for 7 years. Because based on the theory you're using, for those meters, it would mean every single home in North Smithfield should be getting a 62-unit meter user fee. And if you have not done that, and you cannot show me documentation, you have done that to individual single units in this town, you have overtaxed us. It's as simple as that.
Okay, I'd like to hear from the other gentleman, unless there's any other point that you wanted to make.
I'll make one other point. It is my opinion as part of the board that if we can't come to an agreement, we will find other means to come to an agreement. I leave it at that.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Will Richter. I'm in Unit 31 on Alpine Way. So, I guess I don't really have a comment other than I would like to understand something. I'm not sure that you have the information at hand, but it sounded like the letter that we received from the town describing what the two options were would still include some type of a fee associated with the maintenance of each unit. It seems to me that at the core of this problem, or understanding what this issue is an understanding of what that fee actually represents. It sounds to me, from what Mr. DeMeo said, that the fee was initially called a meter fee and is now called a maintenance fee. I'm not sure, is that a semantic thing? Why was the name changed? Is it the fact that it's called a meter fee? Where do those funds, this to me is what we really need to understand. The funds that are used for that meter fee, or maintenance fee as it's called today, what is that used for? If you have a virtual meter in a unit, because that's just essentially what you've done, you've created a virtual meter that you've charged us for. If that represents some maintenance cost that's associated with the mere fact that you're a homeowner in the town of North Smithfield using the municipal water system, then it would seem to me that we haven't been overtaxed. That it's just part of the fee, and we're dealing with an issue of what we call the fee. So I think at the core of this issue is having a full understanding of what that fee represents, where that money is going to, right?
Could you say more?
As a resident of the town of North Smithfield, I don't want to necessarily get an advantage over somebody else just because of the way my unit was built. But if we were indeed overtaxed, if it is indeed something associated with the cost of maintaining a meter, right, then clearly we've been overtaxed or overcharged, let's say. So I would recommend that there's be some type of study or analysis on the part of the town. I think you guys have the information we don't, that would describe to us what that charge is. If it's a maintenance fee, so be it, it's a maintenance fee. And whether we put meters on our units or not, if there's still going to be a maintenance fee associated with having, municipal water supply, well, then we're not gonna get ahead. We're not gonna gain anything by adding an additional cost of putting meters in. So I would simply ask that you do that and then get back to us somehow. And I think that will clear the air.
The point you made that we don't have the information available, and maybe we do, I can speak as one counselor, I don't. And so I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm being asked to make a decision, and again, I'll just repeat it, I don't think that this level of detail is what the council ought to be deliberating.
Well, absolutely. We shouldn't be talking about plumbing either in a council meeting. But what I'm suggesting to you, if you want us to work with the administration, someone in the administration, perhaps the water,
Water commissioner, I mean.
give us a full accounting of what that fee is for. I think that would be, help us
Ideally,
understand.
I'd like to know that the administration is working directly with the Silver Pines Condo Association, speaking on behalf of representing all of the owners, because there may be some owners that feel this way and some owners that feel that way.
Right.
Represent the ownership, come together with the administration. You know, I have a lot of questions about, should there have been meters installed when the project was built, and if they weren't, maybe there was a cost-cutting measure. I can't answer that question,
Right,
but
right.
it's a concern of mine, and all I want is for the two parties to come together, whether it's through mediation or on their own, and present a proposal to the council that we can ratify.
Yeah, but we have to have action, positive action, not this back and forth for 4 or 5 years.
I agree.
Where, there's accusations that we've been overcharged or undercharged, whatever it is. We need some facts about those fees. What do those fees represent? I think we could make the case one way or the other, whether we should be paying or not be paying those fees, if we understand what is at the core of those fees.
I completely agree.
But we need positive action, is what I'm asking.
I know about positive action. I've been watching even our own companies struggle in this town. But I'd like to do positive action. I'd like to work with Joe and Paulette together, because I kind of understand all of this. But the only thing I don't understand is, like you're saying, the exact question you're saying, is it a fee? Are we calling it a service charge, or is it a meter fee? I think that's what it is. I think, in my guesstimate, I think they call it a meter fee, but it's not really a meter fee. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I think we need to know from Russ, from the water
I
department.
just read it earlier.
Oh, you
on.
did?
The additional unit fee is necessary maintenance of the entire system, which also includes pipes, valves, water tank testing, chemicals, etc. So it's for the whole system in the town.
So that's fine, but now we have to just work out what's the problem that the 61 units is, this is what I'm understanding, off that big meter, we're paying a bigger fee than if we were 61 units. Besides that, we're paying more for the water. If we just sit down and figure that out, it shouldn't be that hard, right?
What I can do is sit down with a few members of the board and we'll just get, if you'd like to sit in with us.
I would like to, so this way it can happen fast.
Yeah, and then we can just have it spelled out and make sure we understand each line and decide from there what's best for you. I mean, really, when we submitted the 2 options, I was waiting to see which one you thought was best. It doesn't make a difference to us.
Well,
Eventually accommodate.
as a resident, I was unaware that there was options given to us.
Okay, all right, so but that's a, see,
That's a communication problem.
too.
But
Okay.
I think, again, at the core, right, that fee is derived from somewhere.
Right.
We don't just pull it out of the air, right?
Well, I think that's what we want to find out, right? You and I want to find out where it's coming
We'll
from.
schedule
I think
something
everybody
for
wants to
later
find
this
out.
week or- Pardon me? Oh, sorry.
No, Councilman McGee said, you and I think everybody wants to find this out, and let's come to consensus here. Will you call it a rose fee, a tulip fee, whatever you want to call it? It's for maintenance of the lines, the valves, the chemicals.
It's got to be rooted in the ordinance, it's got to be rooted in the town regulations, and that's.
Well, I think it's rooted in the budgeting process, right? Because again, that fee comes from somewhere. Somebody sits down and figures out a budget, what to charge everybody for this. And that's what we need to understand. It's going to be very clear to us. So that's only fair to us as residents of the town. And as well as all the other people that are on the system that might want to know why. You could maybe waive this meter fee and then you're gonna get every other resident upset for why aren't they paying?
You can't do that. It would just be, you can't do it.
There
has to be a
work by,
fee
rules and laws and.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, you gotta get to the core.
Right.
But you owe us that, right? The town, somebody in the town
Yes.
knows what those costs are.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me. First of all, there was no communication gap between the board and residents. That's why we're here tonight. The letter that the administrator sent to me was given to the board. The board finally got on the agenda tonight to speak about issues regarding the water. No communication yet. It was presented from administration to board, board to council. As far as what the unit fee is, or fees, it says right here in the administrator's letter. The additional unit fee is necessary for maintenance of the entire system. That also includes pipes, valves, water tanks, testing, chemicals. Any water supply, board, city, town, they use a meter fee as a way to charge fees, maintenance fees, whatever it is. It's based on a meter. You can't put the burden of making your budget, the North Smithfield Water Department, on the users of Silver Pines who don't have meters, or in fact, any two-tenement that only has one meter.
All right, here's what I'd like to suggest. I don't want to further deliberate something that we don't have definition to. I just think we're wasting each other's time. What I'd like to do is talk about the next step, and we're clear on that a meeting will occur at the town hall with the town administrator, with the water superintendent, perhaps with the solicitor if necessary, to be able to interpret the rules and regulations. And we're going to work toward having the administration and the homeowners association come forward to the council with an acceptable proposal.
I prefer a public session. I don't like the idea.
We're in a public
Excuse
session.
me. I don't like the idea of dealing with groups, administrative dealing with groups. It should be dealing with the board, not a few members of the board, the board. The board. That's how this is going to get accomplished. It has to be through the board of Silver Pines, town council, and administration to resolve the issues. And like
The administration and the board need to resolve an acceptable proposal to bring to the council. I don't believe it's going to be the council who's going to shape and develop the proposal, frankly. And I don't mean to disagree with you, but I don't see that as being the role of the council. So whether that takes place at the Silver Pines conference room with the full board, or whether it takes place in the town administrator's office, makes no difference to me. I want the two entities to come together and have the relevant information before them, the documents, the ordinances, everything. Sort out the questions that haven't been answered yet, and come back to the council with a proposal.
Mr. President, if I may, I'm certainly not going to try to formulate the agreement here, but I would just like to throw it out that possibly it's done on a Saturday for folks that work can attend. It certainly be an open meeting. I'd like to sit there and can absorb as much as this, because I've been dealing with this for years. It's no secret that I voted no against the whole second phase of this development because of the way it came down with some of the development going on over there. I've been involved in this for years. I would just ask that if it was going to happen, of course, it's not about me, it's about the board. And it's not about the administrator, it's about the board. So if you folks could meet on a Saturday or something, I'd love to sit there and have like a workshop and just watch it all develop and come to a consensus.
And I'll make a final plea, because I did a little bit of research on this one after when we met at your home, about taking advantage of a mediation service. It's not very expensive, I don't believe, and it's run through the Mediation Center of Rhode Island. They deal with these types of issues all the time. And there just seems to be an awful lot of misunderstanding and lack of data upon which to come to conclusions. And I don't see it getting resolved in this room, in this forum.
one other thing, it can't go another 3 years. This has to be resolved. It can't go on and on and on and on. We have to come up, there's so many things
Yes, I agree.
that has to come to a head.
Well, if you don't make progress with a board meeting with the administration, then I would strongly encourage you to consider the mediation.
Yeah, I would second that. Of course, if we can come up with some type of an understanding, then mediation. Hopefully, we can work this out.
I think that's no problem. Joe, would you have a problem with the board and the administration, and I'd be there too, we'd all...
No, that's what I'm encouraging.
Well, that's what we want to do first. Mr. Flaherty said, let's try that first.
Okay.
If we can't do it in a timely fashion, believe me, Joe, I hate the waiting forever thing. I've been waiting for 25 years for things too. So, believe me, I feel your pain. We'll make it happen. But I think sitting down, all of us together, I think we can solve these problems. If not, then, just like Mr. Flaherty said, that's the way to go. But I think we can do that.
Thank everybody for their patience. I know it's difficult and it's trying, and we're going to try to do the best we can. I think we just have to make sure that we're taking the right approach. So do we want to, before we move on to another issue, do we want to suggest some order of magnitude timeframes when this might happen? The Councilor Zelinski had suggested perhaps a Saturday. I didn't hear any objection to that.
I don't really want to do Saturdays. I'd rather meet in the office like during work, after work.
Well, I'd like to be able to leave with some type of consensus at least about the time frame for when this is going to happen.
I'm available May 5th, Monday.
You're talking about that's a town council meeting.
No,
Oh, during the day.
Monday.
But it's not about me. As long as everybody can meet, I'm okay.
Well, who's going to, just me and...
There's another council member, board member there.
Can you go too?
That's our
Oh, I'm not
point
there
of board.
May 5th during the day?
That's fine.
No problem.
It has to be at night.
It has to be
You
at
just said
night.
during the day.
No, it's in-
Whatever you want.
We have a town council meeting on May 5th at 7 p.m.
But you wanted us to meet with the administration, I thought.
Yes, which is why they were suggesting during the day. That's why we're...
May 5th during the day.
Joe, I can't do May 5th during the day. I tried to do it.
Let's do it in New Hampshire.
Hey, you wanna come up, you come to my house, I don't care.
I'm already gonna be there.
Mr. President, if I might just suggest that the board get together and determine give me 2 or 3 dates that are good.
There you go.
Call my secretary, we'll look at my schedule,
Very
pass
good.
it on to the counselor, and then we'll just do it.
Okay?
Just one quick thing.
Yes.
You want- And this may speed things up, that's why I'm doing this. I would strongly suggest, because I was making the assumption that they're gonna do research on this, that the research, one area to research is what services, because when you get taxed by any town, by any state, or by the federal government, you get taxed because they tell you that you are providing a service that's critical to the common welfare of the community. That's why tax can get taxed.
I'm not sure that I understand your point, Charles.
My point is, based on that, I would like to be shown at the meeting, if they can do this, what services they provided and the cost of those services, where they charged us for 7 years for 62 additional units. I'm sorry, 61. Bottom line is, additional 61 units, we got charged for 7 years. You should be able to show us what services the town of North Smithfield provided for that charge to be applied to Silver Pines Common.
What I would suggest is that, Mr. DeMayo, when you communicate to the town administrator the recommended dates for the meeting, perhaps you include any base material that you believe needs to be present at the meeting. But if you could, not a volume of this, but if you could identify those things such as, is it
Mr. Quirk?
Quirk?
Yes.
What he's identified, and just put that in the request, so that when you have the meeting, the information that you need is there.
Because if it's there, you can show it, you can show the bills, and you can show the line items on how those services were provided and
Okay.
why.
We're gonna
Of
move
course,
on.
Then
Thank you
I'll
very
have
much.
a different outlook on it.
Okay, we're moving